Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. I am so happy. We're here today to chat about this new Aesop Rock album, Spirit World Field Guide. Aesop Rock is a New York-based underground hip-hop legend. And in my book, in my life, in my music love, he's one of the most important figures. Honestly, he was one of the first rap albums I ever bought. I bought Labor Days in stores when it was like 12. His grimy yet very prophetic beginnings, the albums like Music for Earthworms and Float and Labor Days as well, are still to this day pretty hard to dissect. But they are absolute classics. To me, at the time, Aesop Rock didn't even sound human. He sounded like some prophetic caveman who never leaves his house. He quoted Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He encouraged us to abandon all hope. He called himself everything from Jabberwocky Superfly to Bilbo Baggins on stilts and so much more. Now personally, I always thought Bazooka Tooth was a little hit and miss, and while I eventually liked it a little bit, a lot of None Shall Pass seemed to me like a real departure for Aesop Rock. To me, I didn't really get back into his stuff until Skeleton. To me, here, Aesop Rock just sounded older, but wiser and just completely refreshed, all the while bringing back in fantastic production and continuing to be a lyrical master. To me, this just kind of sounded like where Aesop Rock should be. And to me, the Impossible Kid over the years has become one of the nicest surprises in his catalog. Obviously, Aesop Rock is getting older, and at times on this album just really had him reflecting on him growing up and him coming up in the rap world, and just honestly led to some of his most incredible stories, all while remaining completely sharp production-wise. Now, over the years, honestly, Aesop Rock has always had a sense for the weirder side of rap. Has always been a bit of an oddball, but this new album excited me from afar because I knew it was all about the spirit world. As a matter of fact, the title of this album is Spirit World Field Guide. Now, I didn't know what to think of the singles at first. However, I have listened to this album quite a bit since it came out. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with Hello from the Spirit World. And honestly, it's not that much of an intro. It's spoken word, but it does set a really great tone. In its own way, it's really exciting. It gets me ready to sort of leave reality in a weird way. But then we get The Gates, which is one of the most true to form Aesop Rock tracks here. I mean, if you're a fan of Aesop Rock from any era, you're going to eat this up. It's so crisp. He sounds so focused, and honestly, to me, I can't remember the last time I've heard Aesop Rock sound like he's at home so much. He's made a career of oddball verses and a love of everything strange. But right about now, he sounds like he's been waiting for this moment and has been ready for this moment his entire life. And the result is a funky, focused jam that just brings in most of the themes of this album very well. Button Masher, on the other hand, almost sounds like it could have been a B-side from Skeleton. However, it would be a really good one. Not only does Aesop here sounds focused and completely refreshed again, which is something he's always done when he takes a few years off to make an album, but not only that, but he sounds super youthful here, very charged. I love the themes of imagination on this track and this sort of escaping, all wrapped up with Aesop Rock's legendary sense of humor and sort of outsider approach. On the other hand, Dog at the Door is one of my favorite deep cuts here. Now, if you look back at his catalog, Aesop Rock has always been fascinated with animal behavior. This track is no different. It's a paranoid tune that's a little campy at times. It's literally just a laundry list of possibilities he's having in his mind, thinking about his dog's weird behavior. But it's fun, super jazzy, and actually has some pretty funny thoughts at times. Gauze, on the other hand, is much heavier, much bulkier, but it's also much heavier in themes. It just shows Aesop Rock bringing in a much more intense performance. I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into the lyrical themes of this album, at least some of the smaller tracks here. Honestly, I would be here for hours. But this is so surreal, so colorful, and once again, Aesop Rock just sounds like he's at home and at peace. Pizza Alley is just a fantastic single. It's actually one of the harder tracks to really wrap your head around, especially lyrically. Especially because a lot of these tracks here deal with him like going on these vacations to try and find himself. This one's no different. It's a trip to Peru, but it affects him so spiritually, and it really kind of sets the tone for a lot of the tracks on this album, but it's also incredibly dramatic. The way it progresses also is just so epic. This is a fantastic track. On the other hand, Crystal Sword has like endless amounts of swagger. But as funky and groovy as it is, it's one of the most scattered tracks here, but it makes you really focus. Like, it comes off as a laundry list of Aesop's very sharp thoughts, but in a way that brings me back to like the early days of him. Boot Soup also seems just so frazzled, a little all over the place, but it doesn't push me away. It actually makes me focus on him a whole lot more. This is one of the more ghoulish and freakish tracks here. I love the wordplay here and the tortured, warped vocals of Homeboy Sandman at the chorus. Not only that, but the pop culture references are super sharp. This is a real callback to his early work once again. I don't know, to me, just tracks like this just seem like the complete package with Aesop Rock. On the other hand, Coveralls almost sounds like a B-side from that Malibu Ken project he dropped last year. Compared to some of the other tracks here, this isn't as fascinated with the spirit world or joyous or anything along those lines. No, this sounds grisly and dangerous. Once again, Aesop Rock kind of just sounds like home here. Now, this is a big undertaking. This is Aesop Rock's longest album in a very long time. There are a few tracks that don't really hit it for me. Holy Waterfall for me is the first track that's kind of a letdown. The synths here do really draw me in. I think those are great, but the production here kind of makes me raise an eyebrow. Once again, we have Aesop Rock taking this very spiritual trip to Cambodia. But for me, this just doesn't sound like Aesop Rock was A game. And Sleeper Car, to me, is my least favorite track here, honestly. The over-the-top organs that start this track off actually remind me a lot of what like 10 Point Never was doing on R+7. That excites me. But this is by far one of the most redundant tracks here. It's not very interesting at all. Compare this to like Pizza Alley. This is so miles away from that. And the beat here, and especially the production, is not nearly as up to snuff. I do like the whimsical side of 1 to 10, but I really wish that Aesop Rock didn't sound so freaking bored here. Yes, I understand that goes with some of the themes of this track, but for me, just not enough to save it. Side quest is rough as well. As a matter of fact, this kind of sounds like a side quest or a B-side or like a bonus track. In a weird way, this just doesn't sound like it really matches the themes of this album. All of Aesop's usual characteristics are here in effect, but for me, I don't know, this just hits below the mark. But the rest of this album, man, this is a knockout from Aesop Rock. This is an absolute late career tour de force. Jumping Coffin might be my favorite track here. I love his lively performance here, and this beat reminds me of something off The Impossible Kid. We get a lot of thoughts here on Aesop Rock's thoughts on connecting with the dead and conversating with them. But honestly, here, there's nothing scary or disheartening. It's actually pretty hopeful. No matter what your thoughts are on this, it's pretty fascinating. Flies is just a really great, short, super aggressive track. It's short, it's visual, and pretty perfect. Like, to me, this track didn't need to be any longer than 56 seconds. Salt is just a really fantastic track all around. We have these weird, campy synths once again to make you just really prepare for the oddest, but then you have Aesop Rock's very focused, swagger-filled performance that brings you back to just about enough of reality. But honestly, this is one of the best tracks here. I love the throwback beat, and honestly, go back and listen to the backstory of this track. It really sets the tone for a lot of this album. Attaboy is great as well. I feel like we needed a track like this. It's all about unwanted visitors from the spirit world. But you know what? It rules, and it's a track that I feel like I could just close my eyes, turn off, and just really enjoy Aesop Rock's performance. But towards the end of this album, it really takes a sharp turn that I didn't see coming overall. Starting off with Kodakushi, I didn't expect to hear a track like this. This track is heartbroken, painfully real. It is a track about Aesop Rock really struggling to feel at home anywhere, and this spacey, downtrodden beat just makes it hit so much harder. Fixed and Dilated, on the other hand, is absolutely dazzling. It is a track about pure evil, which once again we kind of needed. But the silence of this track, the fact that it doesn't have a big, bulky beat, is actually perfect. It's just so meditative, and it hits so hard. And Marble Cake is not just a fantastic finale, but it is just one of the most impactful finales I've ever heard on an Aesop Rock album. We start off with these synths, this beat. These synths sound like they were dragged out of some cult classic horror movie, and there's a sense of urgency to them as well. But the sense of joy at the end of this track is one of the most overwhelming things I've heard in music this year. From start to finish, throughout this spirit world field guide, We've seen Aesop Rock struggle to fit in, looking desperately for some sort of inspiration, and now he seems to have found it. He rediscovers everything with tracks like this that he loves about music, his craft. It's actually one of the most inspiring things I've heard all year. It makes me want to really dig my teeth into some new project or get myself out there and get creative. It is absolutely stunning. The Four Winds as a sort of epilogue track here is fine. I think lyrically and performance-wise it's great, but I just honestly, if I had to really nitpick here, I think that Marble Cake is just so much more better. Finale, I digress. This is probably going to be rap album of the year for me. This is one of my favorite albums that I've heard all year. To watch Aesop Rock really start as this outsider, this weirdo quoting Invasion of the Body Snatchers and telling us to abandon all hope, to kind of come to fruition over the years and come back and sort of make a little comeback and start to really analyze his entire career, to see where he goes from the start to finish of this album is one of the most amazing things I've heard in music this year. It's probably gonna be near the top of my charts. I have nothing but good things to say about this. I mean, it's a little long-winded, but so much of this album rules. It absolutely rules. I'm feeling a decent 9 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.